Good morning, all. Um, I bring greetings for all my friends in Madras from chaotic Delhi. It was a struggle to pull some greetings out of Delhi because it's not easy. Not at all easy. This morning I had a wonderful experience. That I got up in the morning and fairly tensed up, like I was on the eve of my first test in Calcutta. Then I found in the room there was rubber all over the place. And I couldn't figure out. I thought, how could a rat have been in this room? And I struggled. I picked up some pieces of rubber. And I had a look at my shoe. And the sole had gone completely. Then I wondered, would 3 drinks of Red Label have the same kind of effect on the sole of my shoe? And I had to look at it and I said, oh, how am I going to manage this? Because last night we were talking about the outfit, what I have to wear, but I cannot come in slippers. So this morning I went, took a cab, looked around, and the lesson which I learned was never, when you are out of your home or your city, never carry the pair of shoes as old as yourself. So that's a wonderful lesson, really. But fortunately for me, there was one shop open. And I said, do you have size 10? I showed him a few. He said, no, we don't have. I said, all right, pull out one, please, for me. I need it very urgently. And he managed. I was ever so grateful. Then he looked at me and he said, where are you from? I said, why do you want to know that? He said, no, you look a bit out of place, out of sorts. I said, I am. Because I don't know what I'm going to do without the shoes. Anyway, he was very kind. And he says, come again. I said, I hope not. Because I'll be better prepared next time. I'm grateful to the foundation, Palkhivala Foundation, for having invited me here. In fact, this invitation came about 2 months earlier. This is it's just about a time when a lot of rubbish was being floated around in the name of cricket, when the match fixing, spot fixing, and various other things connected with the IPL that took place. And Mr. Anand, he rang me up and he says, we want you to talk about it. I said, why me? He said, no, you're the only one who will call a spade a shovel. I said, but do we need that? He said, yes. So I said, okay, we finalized the date and everything. And in between, India wins the Champions Trophy in England. And day before yesterday, they beat Sri Lanka and Trinidad. And Mr. Anand, I think he had reason to develop cold feet. So he said, should we change the subject? I said, how will it help Indian cricket? Because the problems remain despite the team winning. And I have always believed that whatever good which happens in Indian cricket happens by sheer providence. And I'm convinced, honestly, because we don't have any strategy as such, any planning, which will throw up a champion like Gavaskar or Kapil Dev or Vishwanath, Bhagavad Chandrasekhar, and Rabli Kusana. No, it just happens because the passion of this game amongst the youngsters, the passion of this game amongst the cricket followers is quite unreal. And only yesterday I was reading a comment from the legendary Milkha Singh, talking about this Bhag, Milkha Bhag. And he says, he blames media and cricket for not promoting other sports. And he was very sore, very bitter, that in the print media and in the electronic media, cricket is being sold 24/7. And nobody bothers about what happens to Milkha Singh when he is vomiting blood while training. So I think we'll all see it sooner or later what he all meant. But there is a fair amount of grudge amongst sports people of other discipline that cricket is taking a lot of mileage. Now, how do you account for it? If cricket is popular, now you can't. No, we are struggling to sell soap. You start selling soap, please. If something is good and popular and in demand, so what is wrong with it? But it is very difficult to convince a hockey player or an athlete or a badminton player or a tennis player or a golfer for that matter that we all have an opportunity, we all have a reasonable access to a place in the sun. Like Jeet Milkha Singh is playing outstanding golf, the father is not complaining. You know, but now nobody knows the Jeet Milkha Singh perhaps is making more money from golf than Dhoni can ever imagine from cricket, even if he becomes the president of India Cements. Well, cricket is popular, we all know, and cricket is sold well. And in the present context, perhaps oversold. Then we come to a platform where we have to define ourselves. Now look, I am not talking cricket primarily because I'm a cricketer or talking about myself, no. I hope I'm discussing some cricketing philosophy. Because for me, cricket was more than just a sport. It was a way of life. So I may have to ask all of you here that the difference between sin and crime. We all may have sinned 1,000,000 times. But we're not criminals for the simple reason we are here nice and free. If we were criminals, we'd somewhere in Tihar. Or, I don't know what was the equivalent of Tihar in Madras. Sorry? Okay, thank you. I'm learning. Sin is a thought which occurs in your mind. And crime is implementing the thought. Now, if today we find cricket and criminals, chuckers and match fixers and bookies, and the franchises, some of them, are going hand in hand. There's nothing surprising about it. Because cricket, to my mind, is the only sport which reflects the times we live in. And if a political scenario is so deplorable, so depressing, see, we have quite a few test centers in the country, but there's only one parliament in Delhi, where they are now trying to introduce some kind of legislation to keep criminals at bay. I don't know how they'll manage. The sports ministry was very, very keen to bring the BCCI under the RTI. But when the same RTI was implemented on the political parties, they all revolted. So, can you possibly have your cake and eat it too? So this is where the cookie crumbles. If in cricket, some of the BCCI officials, well, BCCI officials become prominent because all the top heads of various associations, they come and attend. They comprise the BCCI. So BCCI comes in focus straight away. We don't bother, honestly, we don't know how DDC is being run. We don't know how Punjab Cricket Association is run, or Rajasthan, or Jammu and Kashmir, or Bombay Cricket Association. We have no idea. I'm talking purely as a student of the game, because an average cricket follower, I'm talking in the modern context, they want to come to the ground at Chipok or in Chinnaswamy Stadium or in Kotla. My observation is that they are not coming to see the game. They're coming to be seen that they were there. Now that there are so many cameras all over the place, so there are chances that sooner or later some camera will focus on you. So you do something outrageous to be noticed. Anand mentioned my son's name, Angad. He was, I think about 12, 13 years ago. He came and asked me, he said, Dad, when you and Chandra uncle and Rash uncle, whenever you got a man out, weren't you thrilled? I said, why? Why do you ask this question? He said, but you're pretty listless. You're not making a show of it. I said, listen, what show did we have to make? Our job was to get wickets, and whenever we got a wicket, that's it, we're grateful. No, but look at Bhaji, look at it. Look what he's doing there. I said, yes, he's surprised how he got it. No, but, no, this is modern. This is where I feel the game might have changed. But otherwise, if you look at it purely from a cricketing angle, I'd like to ask all of you sitting in this hall, is the length of the pitch 22 yards, has it changed since last 150 years? Height of the stumps, 28 inches, has it changed in the last 100 odd years? Or the width of the stumps, 9 inches? The bowling greens, 4 feet is your batting thing. It's still the same. The weight of the ball is still the same. The width of the bat is still the same. So what has changed?
Weight of the bat.
Sorry?
Weight of the bat.
Yeah, but I mean the weight of the bat is changed. The bat itself is, in any way, is not become 10 inches wider.
But Dhoni batted.
Dhoni.
Dhoni batted with a very heavy bat.
Heavy
yesterday.
bat.
Sorry?
Dhoni batted with a very heavy bat 2 days.
Yeah, well, heavy bats are now, you see, you can have heavy bat. Now, you can say the equipment in tennis has also changed a lot. So has the equipment in hockey and in golf. So it is for the better performances. The weight of the ball is still the same. So what has really changed? We have changed. The change is in the producers, the directors, and the actors. That is where the change is. And of course, the tamasha is, as I mentioned earlier, they come to be seen. For example, Devu, yesterday I was watching, I'm quite a regular viewer of a program from Amritsar. It shows morning rituals from Golden Temple. And there was this Deputy Chief Minister of Punjab, Sukhbir Singh Badal, with his entire jing-bang of security staff. And you would imagine that you come to a religious place, a worshipping place, to worship, to bow before the Holy Granth. And here was a man who was enjoying the glory of being bowed in front of the Granth. I can't imagine any human life is more valuable than the Golden Temple itself. But that's besides the point. What I'm talking about is, on the cricketing front, the kind of change we are witnessing, and a very new kind of a cricket following. Which wasn't there earlier, no. And fortunately, I promise you it was very fortunate that we had a captain called Tiger Patodi, and if we doffed this cap like this, that was good enough compliment. He wouldn't jump, hug you all over the place, and then throw you down on the floor and start climbing. Bum, 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 bum. This is where I feel, yes, people want to believe that IPL is entertainment. When cricket was invented in England, it was invented primarily to pull out society from depression. And anybody who didn't play cricket was considered an outcast. So cricket started as an entertainment. Cricket didn't need induced entertainment. And, well, since it's an English game, there is an English proverb attached to it. It says, this is not cricket. We never say,
You stop using your mobile phones.
no, you can use it outside. Again, one of the ills of communication, progress of communication. As I said, the proverb uses, this is not cricket. We never say this is not hockey, this is not tennis, this is not football, this is not golf, this is not swimming, this is not athletics. Why cricket? this is not cricket. Not necessarily on the field, but in any institution, in any corporate office or any decision making, if there is something happening under the table which is not clean, well, the explanation was that yes, this is not cricket. Because cricket is directly associated with honesty, uprightness, and integrity. And when I mention these three words, honesty, uprightness, and integrity, I would like to chip in with my version, which is that cricket also is involved with spirituality. I know a lot of my friends here in Madras, in south of India really, I used to have discussions with them, and they would say, "Oh, we're very God-fearing people." I'm prepared to concede. It's a wonderful emotion. But why be God-fearing? Why can't be God-loving? I would, with all humility, when I use the word I feel pretty restless with this I thing. Because cricket is a team game, so it's we. But since I have been invited in a very personal capacity, so please pardon my inference to I. I was very fortunate that I took up this game. Very fortunate. And I took up this game primarily to lose weight. I was very, very chubby as a kid, school kid. And many years later, when Angad, my son, was about, I think, 7 or 8, there was an old film, cricket film being shown on Doordarshan. And the mother yelled at Angad and she said, "Angad, come on, dekho, daddy bowling kar rahe." So he came into the room, had a look and said, "Daddy nahi, Maninder Singh hai." You know, now it was very difficult for me to convince the youngster that I used to be nice and slim once upon a time. But having played this game, context, we have so many motivational books that you must dream, not while you're sleeping, but dream while you're awake. I never dreamt that I'll play for the country one day. It just happened. And on word of honor, I'm telling you this is a fact. Because nothing in my life was ever planned in a very organized manner. No. When I was born, some family friend suggested that this kid is going to become a session judge one day. Okay? So my old mother used to carry me on her shoulders to the district courts, trying to convince me that you're going to sit here one of these days. Well, that became a bit of a joke in the house until I graduated from Punjab University, and I had nothing to look forward to. But I still had 2 more years to play for Punjab University in the inter-varsity tournament. So I joined law in Chandigarh. That is when my father told my mother, it seems it's going to come true. That he might become a session judge one day. It so happened that while I was doing law, I got this break in the Indian side. And when the college was functional, I was playing cricket. And when I was free, the college was on strike. So it didn't quite gel. So law college in Chandigarh was pretty notorious. Very notorious. I spent a year in the hostel. Some remarkable memories of that place, but it didn't work out. So once I got the break in the Indian side, that is how I got a job in the State Bank of India. In those days, it was important to be working for some public sector or the other, like railways, State Bank of India, or services. It is very important because this professional aspect of the game, professionalism as we'd like to know, came about in mid-90s, really. Not that BCCI was short of money earlier, but they were quite happy to see giants of Indian cricket, to be taken for a ride. One instance, if I may tell you, that in those days they used to get, well, it's just before I started playing, they used to get 250 rupees a test match. One test match, India beat New Zealand in 4 days. And the board deducted 50 rupees from every player. Because the game didn't go into the 5th day. So they deducted 50 rupees. The boys got, mind you, giants like Paulie Amriga, Subhash Gupte, Vinu Mankad, Pankaj Roy, Vijay Manjrekar, they were all there. Not a soul stood up. So, money which we used to get was called, Vaman would bear me out, it was called smoke allowance. In today's context, you'll be behind the bar if you're getting that kind of allowance. And Wazir Sultan and company, they lost their moorings long time ago. This smoke allowance was there for a long, long time, till after I finished. It was never that kind of the money which we got. It was 700 rupees, then it became 2,000 rupees. It was 2,000. We won 3 series in a row under Ajit Wadekar. It was still 2,000 rupees. Indian team wins the champion trophy in England now, and the whole team gets 1 crore each. I've got no complaints about that. But tell me, weren't they supposed to win it? And if they won it, have they done anything extraordinary? As it is, they're being paid to play for the country. I'm not trying to create any kind of comparisons, but it's important for me to bring it to your notice that I played county cricket for 6-7 years as a professional for Northamptonshire. So did Banks, and Farooq Engineer was also there. And I was working with State Bank of India at that time. And I had to seek leave from the State Bank for 6 months and a year without pay. And that is how, things were considered normal. Now you are centrally contracted with the BCCI and you paid a professional fee for a particular test match or a one-dayer or a T20 match. And you're still on the rolls of ONGC or Indian Airlines. Now, I'd like to ask some of the income tax luminaries sitting here. Can you earn at 3-4 different places? And where are you? How are you calculating your tax returns? But this can happen here in India. It can't happen in England. Well, I think it is, as I mentioned earlier, whatever good happens for Indian cricket, it happens by sheer providence. When you need 15 runs in the last over and the captain gets them. Mr. Anand, when he talked to me 2 months ago, he was quite ruffled and very annoyed with what was going on in Indian cricket. And then he says, we'd like you to talk about cleaning cricket, cleaning Indian cricket. I said, when was cricket ever dirty? Cricket was never dirty. Cricket is the cleanest physical activity one can indulge in. If the players, I would now like to talk about the role of the players, which is my community. I'm not talking as an administrator, I'm talking purely as a player. It's the players who caused havoc in world cricket, not just Indian cricket. If I may mention here, when Douglas Jardine invented the bodyline having 7 fielders on the leg side behind the batsman. It happened once. And then the cricket authorities took over. Ever since then, you can't have more than 2 fielders behind the batsman. So, a cricketing captain was stretching his strategy a bit too far. Okay, we come to a game which we played in Jamaica when they were bowling not 6, 7, 8 bounces an over. Mind you, we were put into bat in that particular game, and we were almost 200 runs for 1. It was with the second new ball when the whole strategy went berserk. So what happens? The bouncer, to my mind, is the most legitimate weapon of a fast bowler. But if you say, all right, you can't bowl more than 1 or 2 bounces an over, who asked for it? The players. There was a time when the 2 captains used to go out in the middle and toss. And what happened? Vishwanath, in his first test match as a captain in Calcutta against Pakistan, he says, the coin came down and he says, I said, bhai, aap kya karenge? I said, no, you won, Vishy, what are you going to do? He said, no, you won it. He said, no, you won it. Went down for a while. And Vishy eventually said, okay, if I won it, then we'll bat first. He didn't know what was behind it all. So now if the referee is going out in the middle with the two captains, who's asked for it? Ball tampering started by the players, not by any official. Somebody is using a bottle top or some greasy stuff on the ball and taking undue advantage. Again, not quite cricket. No. That is why now, after the fall of every wicket, the ball is given to the umpire. So, there is a huge cloud of suspicion. Where did the match fixers come in? When? Okay? We don't know, honestly we don't know how match fixing takes place. But it does. What is the modus operandi? We have no idea. Nobody, I don't think any of you would have any clue. Even if there are a few bookies sitting here. No, we have a clue. Honestly, we have it. But we know, because we read stories in the media. And ICC, with all its good intentions, is struggling to get to grips with this particular problem. But this chucking is happening right under your nose. Nobody is able to do anything about it. Not the umpires, not the captains, not the media, no. You don't need rocket science to prove that so-and-so is chucking. About a year ago, I met Harbhajan on a cricket field and he says, he's complaining. He says, Baji, why are you against me? I said, why should I be against you? Tell me. What do we have in common? I said, I have problem with the ICC, which is allowing you to do what you're doing. And that, to my mind, is not cricket. It is very difficult to convince him, because he is the only one who's taken a hat-trick for India. Venkat was umpiring a test match at the Oval, England versus Sri Lanka, when our friend got 8 wickets in each innings. And Sri Lanka beat England. So I happened to be in London that time and I rang up Venks and I said, Venks, what about the 16 wickets there then? And he said, Bish. 16 birds run out. I said, why didn't you call him? He said, why should I stick my neck out? I said, now, don't be a timid South Indian, please. No, but he said, let a white man own it up. And we all know it, how he was allowed to bowl. Because Sri Lankans, you see, there was a time when ICC was Imperial Cricket Conference, okay? It sounded too boorish and too snobbish, the Imperial Cricket Conference. But I'd like to think that both England and Australia at that time were pretty fair in many decisions that they took. And then it became ICC. And the World Cup was moved from England to India in 1987. primarily because 2 or 3 Indian board divisions couldn't get extra tickets for Lord's final game. And, it was a fair enough move that World Cup must go out of England. So first India, Pakistan, and then went to Australia and New Zealand, which is good move. But it was moved to show the strength of the votes. And then we had a very ambitious cricket official who wanted to be the chairman of the ICC. And he had no option but to encourage this bowler from doing what he was doing in a glorious manner. Keep on doing what you're doing. I was talking about this chucking business in England once, and it's very difficult. I can promise you it's not easy to convince the Goras on matters cricketing. But when I told them, I said, look, cricket has always carried plenty of social connotations. And, well, there were a few sitting in front and said, how do you explain that? I said, okay, let me tell you. What would you call another man in a woman's life? Another man apart from a husband. What would you call another man in a woman's life? It's dusra. And similarly, another woman in a man's life is called dusri. So is it legal? If dusra is not legal, dusri is not legal, how can this dusra be legal on the field? Now, the ICC is the parent body, and it has enormous capacity to rule and to gag. Umpires are not allowed to say a word. The captains are not allowed to say a word. The players are not allowed to say a word. The commentators are not allowed to say a word in chucking. No. So we are all dumb and mute. What are we watching? We are as good as, turning our backs to a rape taking place in Delhi, in a bus or anywhere. I'm pretty emotional about this particular issue because I find, honestly, that there's so much of damage being done to this game by these fellows who are so keen on bowling with long sleeves, no matter how hot it is. I said I counted 25 chuckers in the last IPL. And Vaman Kumar says, no, there were 40. I think I'd agree with him. About 2 years ago, Venkat Raghavan, as a director of the umpiring in India, he took a very bold initiative. And he instructed all the umpires in first-class games, Ranji as well as in Duleep, and also under 25 matches, to stop bowlers from bowling with suspect actions, stop them. And 142 bowlers were stopped 2 years ago. I was complimenting Venks on this, and I said, but Venks, what about the big fish? He said, their net is not in my control. So, now somebody has to bell this cat. Must own up. Like we often talk about the rut in a political setup. This rut in cricket is no less. About 2-3 years ago, I happened to meet Adam Gilchrist in one of the functions at Taj Palace in Delhi. And he came and hugged me and held me very tight like this, and he says, Besh, I want to congratulate you. I said, for what? He said, you're the only one who's steadfastly talking about this rubbish of chucking. He said, I want to do it, but I can't. Now, we as human beings have the advantage of expression, which animals don't have, birds don't have. They have sound. You can tell by sound it's a dog or a lion or an elephant or a cow or a donkey. But they don't have words. आवाज है उनके पास, अल्फाज नहीं है. इंसान के पास अल्फाज भी हैं, but he still doesn't want to use them. कहते हैं कि आदमियत, इंसानियत कब, according to the Islamic thought, इंसानियत आई जब इंसान को महसूस हुआ कि वो नंगा है. Then he got hold of leaves, banana leaves, whatever, to cover himself up. That is how mankind came into being. Otherwise, they were as good as animals. Animals are still not aware. A man is now nicely covered, thanks to the tailor, and still terribly, terribly nude. This is where I feel the cricketing philosophy to stay abreast with honesty, with uprightness and integrity is very vital, more now than ever before. I had the good fortune of knowing Sir Donald Bradman pretty closely. I used to interact with him through letters. And whenever got an opportunity to meet him, we used to have good cricketing discussions. I once asked him on a tour to Australia, I said, Sir Donald, would you have scored the same number of runs now as you did when you did? And he looked at me, had a little chuckle, and then he said, no, I don't think so. I don't think I would have scored the same number of runs now. Because, the fields are widespread, and if you want to prevent a man from scoring, you can do it with your negative tactics. He said, no, I don't think I would have scored the same number of runs. And then he paused and he says, I don't think they would have got me out either. He said, I would have adjusted. On another occasion, I asked him, I said, have you been watching Kerry Packer circus? He said, yes, not because I want to, but I must know what the hell is going on around me. Because cricket is my life. I must know what is going on. I think on the similar lines, I used to watch the IPL.